Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think one of the things that we've lost in this country is our national story, because it's an exodus story. For more than 250 years, people fled persecution from all over the world. They crossed seas and deserts for the freedom found in the Promised Land. This administration has made policy decisions that deny fundamental rights to migrants and has unjustly separated families for acts that are not criminal violations. Nearly 1/4 of all new businesses in the United States are started by immigrants. Almost half of the Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants to America, creating jobs for Americans. And over half of the patents filed in the United States are filled by immigrants. Mr. Jowitz, despite the quantifiable economic benefits of immigration, why does this president, but in fairness, his predecessors, both Republican and Democrat, adopt an extreme hard line on immigration policy?
That's a great question, I think, and it does get to something that the Congressman, Mr. Smith, raised as well. No one supports illegal immigration, right? Illegal immigration is a system of a dysfunctional system, right? It's also a reality. And it's a reality in response to what the country's actual realistic needs are. There's a reason why immigrants are not just contributing for those who come through legal channels, but also, and this is very real, and the literature is clear on this, also people who are undocumented, who came without status, those who fell out of status. They're still economic contributors to this country in myriad ways. So the question for me is, do we support legal immigration? Yes, everyone supports legal immigration. So then we need to take a step back and say, well, how can we build a system that can be based upon legal immigration? How can we get out of the system we have now, which for decades has relied upon this dysfunctional, outside of the law immigration system, in which all of us rely upon the labor of unauthorized workers, undocumented workers, either directly or indirectly. So for me, if we want to think about how to restore respect for the rule of law in our immigration system, that means building a system that lives up to our values as both a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws, and a recognition that we cannot be a nation of laws if we don't have laws that are consistent with our values and ideals as a nation of immigrants.
Claiming back my time, so in a political context, what we're doing then is conflating legal immigration with illegal immigration to create a negative perception of immigration generally. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, I mean, I think over time, basically, no one is proud of the system we have right now, basically. Right. And so, what we have is as the system becomes increasingly dysfunctional over time, because Congress and administrations have been unable to actually fix the system.
And that's a failure of Congress and the administration?
Yeah, I think all of us, yeah.
Moody's Analytics says that doubling the number of legal immigrants that we take in each year from 1 million to 2 million would increase economic growth by 2% each year over the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I think Moody's also studied what happened in Arizona when Arizona adopted legislation that would try and drive immigrants, undocumented immigrants, off the workforce. And what it ultimately did basically was decrease the job market, hurt American workers as well because jobs just left the state. So I think that's exactly right. And one thing I think it's a really striking thing, I mentioned this in my oral testimony, but Gallup has since 1965 been polling the question of Americans whether the level of immigration into this country should decrease, increase, or stay the same. And we are now at basically nearly 55-year highs in the American public saying that immigration to this country should remain the same or increase. So we can keep banging our heads against the wall with our broken system and be really angry about the fact that we have 10.5 million undocumented immigrants here, 7 million in our workforce, and that number is going to continue to fluctuate around that amount, or we can fix the system and bring people within the legal immigration system so that our system can work as it is designed rather than through workarounds and us just turning a blind eye to what's going on.
And with that, I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman.